Welcome to Holistic Accountant Podcast, where we aim to showcase how adopting a holistic approach in accounting and tax maximizes value for clients. Beyond traditional tasks like preparing financial statements and tax returns, a holistic accountant focuses on offering advice that maximizes personal wealth on an after-tax basis. If you enjoy this episode, please consider leaving a rating and sharing it with those who might also benefit. And to ensure you stay updated, subscribe to our weekly email. The link is in the show notes. Okay, today Mena and I would like to talk about the two most prominent accounting software providers in Australia that most Australian businesses use. There's MYOB and Xero, and I think we're probably all, or most people, all familiar with those names. The tools really hit the basics of accounting. Like, both those tools are probably going to help most businesses in many different ways, or at least the key ways that you would expect, which is no surprise because, of course, if a software tool wasn't adequately providing what it needed to do, of course, it wouldn't exist anymore. But, things like obviously the accounting, the bookkeeping, a payroll management process, inventory management, parts of the software as well. MYOB's been around for a long time, Australian-based business, and then it moved into the cloud. Xero, which is a New Zealand-based business, was a cloud-based software right from the get-go, and this is when sort of software as a service, a cloud-based service, started to become more popular, started to really become popular probably about 15 years ago. So it's been around for a long time, but they're kind of neck and neck in terms of, I think Xero's certainly winning the race in terms of market share, but they are neck and neck in terms of competitors. And so we thought it would be really good for Mena really, because he's the one that has the daily experience with these tools, for Mena to provide you with a bit of a comparison between these tools. And of course, we're going to force him to tell us which one he thinks is best, which is fine, which is not to say that it's going to suit every single business. And it's really, one firm's opinion. So of course different firms might have different opinions, but our view would be to choose a provider really with any software product that's well positioned to benefit from AI and all the advancements that might occur into the future. And I think the heritage of these two businesses are important, and that's probably a key distinction as well, and might leave a hint to kind of where we're heading with these. So Mena, I'll hand it over to you.
Look, I do believe there's a clear favourite here, but I'll walk everyone through it and then everyone can make their own assessment, I guess, in terms of which software providers a bit more proficient in what they do. So I'll start off with just the user interface and usability. So as Stuart mentioned, Xero was cloud-based from the get-go. So they've always had a very sort of intuitive and visually appealing dashboard that's quite easy to navigate and customize to your liking. It can give you the information that you're really looking for. Whereas MYOB's dashboard is really, I would say, a little bit sort of clunky, not as intuitive, not as robust as Xero. So I think Xero is definitely winning the race in that regard. In terms of pricing, I think MYOB wins the race in this regard, but I'm a firm believer of you pay for what you get end of the day. Both offer tiered pricing plans, whereas Xero can slowly creep up to be more expensive as your business sort of gets larger. In terms of its features, they're very much neck to neck in a lot of components. Both do provide sort of comprehensive accounting features, including, your invoicing, expense tracking, bank reconciliation, reporting, and so forth. They both have strong payroll functionality integrated into the software, but then by no means their payroll function the best payroll function out there. Providers such as Employment Hero provide a much better payroll and HR offering than what Xero and MYOB offer. In terms of reporting, Xero tends to have a lot more customizable reports, a lot more reporting options as well than MYOB, and it allows you to get really detailed financial insights. It allows you to sort of forecast and budget a lot easier than what you can in MYOB. In terms of inventory management, MYOB is definitely the clear winner here. They've got inventory management built within their system, whereas for Xero it needs to be a tack on from one of the third-party providers. In terms of integrations, Xero is known for its extensive marketplace of third-party app integrations, making it easy to connect to various business tools, such as point-of-sale systems, CRMs, inventory management tools, timesheet management tools, and so forth. MYOB also offers these integrations, but their ecosystem is much smaller compared to Xero. So I think Xero is definitely winning the race on the integration side of things. Times of customer support, I say this very carefully, but MYOB offers customer support through phone and email. Their phone line can be quite busy at times, so you could be on wait times for a long period of time, whereas Xero, it's all done through their online support function. So similar to like how a chat function works, you submit a request and you generally get a response within 24 hours. In addition to that, there's various YouTube videos that provide you with a lot of sort of learning materials on how-tos, whereas MYOB, I think, is not so good in that regard. Both have community forums though. You know, if you've had a problem, it's likely that someone else has had that problem, so you can post that question and see what people have discussed on those particular topics. In terms of cloud capabilities, as I mentioned, both are fully cloud. I think MYOB was a bit later, came a bit late to the game with the cloud offer, but they're there now. But they also offer desktop options, whereas Xero, obviously no desktop, it's fully on the cloud.
So, Mena, who is the winner then? I think we get a feeling that Xero is in front. Is that right?
Definitely. I just think they sort of changed the game of how these types of systems worked. I'm not quite sure, but I think they were the first ones that came up with bank feed technology and so forth. And, you know, the way they integrate to other systems such as CRMs and third-party apps, they're constantly evolving. They're really ahead of the game. You know, they really want to implement AI, like you mentioned before, to, you know, automate a lot of the systems and processes for businesses. They really want to improve the pain points that a lot of businesses suffer from. So, for example, debtors, they offer online payment systems that are, you know, very different to what MYOB did initially, so that you can get paid on time, automated invoice reminders. And although MYOB offer all these things now, I think it's been a bit sort of late to the game. In terms of sort of the usability and functionality, MYOB tends to be a bit clunky. It's still sort of in that almost desktop era, whereas Xero is by far a lot better in that regard.
I'm not an expert in software, of course, but I think the problem is having a legacy product, you know, because otherwise you've got to recode a whole product and almost start from scratch, which I'm certain that MYOB didn't do, whereas Xero built theirs from the ground up, which means it's going to accommodate that growth much better and have better functionality, I think. And I think that's an important distinction, as I said at the beginning, is to understand the heritage of these two businesses. It's a desktop business that's tried to get into the cloud versus a cloud business. And of course, the cloud business is probably always going to win that race. But we thought it was useful to be able to share that insight. And our view is that if you're on MYOB, let's get you over to Xero. Let's get you on a system that we believe is going to serve you not only better today, but also better in the future. And that ecosystem is really important as well, because other providers can then sell apps on Xero's marketplace. So we're not just relying on Xero to come up with some product innovation. It's really the whole world can do it. And, you know, if you're in a niche industry, that can be really helpful because, you know, someone can build a product for that niche industry. And that ecosystem is going to accommodate that, we think, in a much better way. So we hope that's been interesting, although, you know, accounting systems aren't particularly interesting as a topic in of itself. But until next week, bye for now.